Equalist Propaganda. So, this is a different problem, right? I mean, you look at it and it's definitely not your standard problem. It's probably the most unique of the colorless starting problems we have right now. That's going to change in a couple weeks here, but for right now, I think that statement stands in that this problem, the starting problem, it's the only colorless starting problem that is meant to hinder rather than help. Now, admittedly, we only have 5 starting problems, and 3 of them have no game text whatsoever, but still. Now, what's what does this problem do, right? So, first off, it stops both players. It's a problem that affects both players, which most problems more recently haven't been like that. There are some, of course, but most problems lately have been helping one player and not the other, or harming one player and not the other, that kind of thing. Not harming, hindering. Hindering is a better word. So, but equalist propaganda hinders both players. And it hinders them in a huge way, too. A restriction on the number of points you can get per turn, that's pretty significant. 3, I mean, that's higher than Alizodal's 2, but it's still pretty low considering that a lot of aggro decks can easily get 6 or 7 points in one turn with a single DFO with a Night Glider and a rarity or something like that, right? So the fact that this is restricting to 3, that's pretty substantial. That means a minimum of 5 turns, while this problem is in play. Now that's the thing, though. Problems don't tend to stay in play. You start a problem face-off, and it will go away, and then you can start scoring more points. Or, of course, you can use stuff like Snips and Snails, or even Spring Step. Spring Step being the white friend that if she has the most power at a problem, that problem has no abilities. Yeah. So how do you use this problem, right? So primarily you would think you would use this against Combo, right? Combo tries to score 15 points in one turn. Or in the case of Pile, just really large numbers of points, not necessarily 15. But here's the thing with that, right? The problem is that most of those decks, your combo decks and all that stuff, are already running the answers to this. They're running your Snips and Snails or your Spring Steps already. So it's not going to really interfere with them at all. Now, Pile interferes with a little bit because Pile is not a one-turn combo like the other ones are, which are trying to get infinite action tokens and then win the game, right? So it can interfere with Pile a little bit, but again, Pile runs Snips and Snails and can just make the problem go away and not care, or try and do a DFO or what have you. So not the perfect solution there. That being said, it can still help a little bit, so not a bad thing, and it doesn't cost you anything to have this in play. All it costs is the opportunity cost of having a different starting problem. So you might want to run this if you're playing a control deck with a Vinyl main, but maybe not so much if it's a Princess Twilight Sparkle main, since, of course, Princess Twilight Sparkle typically wants Ancient Research. Now, so it's not the ideal answer against combo, is what I'm trying to say here. It might help a little bit, but unless you manage to drop a Trixie to that problem, because Trixie protects it really well, it's probably not going to help you too terribly much. Now, where it does help, though, like I said before, is, of course, aggro. Aggro does, in fact, try and score numbers higher than 3. We're talking 6 to 9, sometimes even 11. More than 11 is usually outside of aggro's reach, but I've seen 11 several times. I've seen other people make 11 other times, 11 is not outside the reach. Unless, of course, you're capped at 3. For those of you who aren't aware, 11 is a larger number than 3. So, there you go. So, this is still actually a worthwhile problem to run in those kind of decks, because they'll probably, while you still might not start with it in play, they still don't want to see it. If they have a 2 bonus problem and they flip into that 2 bonus problem and also this because they just did double face off, right? Suddenly your Equalist Propaganda is possibly hindering their next turn. If they try to do a double problem face off with the 2 bonus problem and Equalist Propaganda, they're still only going to get 3 points as opposed to the normal 4 points that they would get. And of course, if they're trying to use Night Gliders or RTOs or Rarity Breezes or what have you, they can't. They're still capped at 3. So, aggro decks aren't really a fan, and it's worth running in your control decks just for aggro decks, and, the off chance that you can interfere with the combo a little bit. But, again, this is a starting problem, so you can even throw it out against aggro to begin with. Now, that's not always going to be worth it terribly much, because aggro can usually DFO turn 3, and since this is only a 6 wild problem, 6 wild power problem, that's pretty within their reach, unless of course you throw a troublemaker in the way or have some other way of preventing them, like a vexing friend. Tank and Spike, for example, are very, very good vexing friends, and you can use them to prevent the DFO that would make this go away. So yeah, Equalist Propaganda is actually a pretty solid tool. It's not the end-all be-all, but that's good. You don't want a starting problem that is that powerful. Then you get stuff like Rock Slide, which is kind of oppressive. And, we can do better. We can do better. I think the game is doing a lot better balance-wise nowadays, and I think Equalist Propaganda is one of those situationally very strong but not overpowering cards, and that's good. So, I think that's about it for the card itself. What about the art, right? So, not gonna lie, I'm a fan of the art. I like Sleeping Ponies. We have 4 of them here. You can't really see Dash, but pretty sure she's sleeping too. Twilight's not. Twilight's pretty worried, and I can kind of understand that. This is a pretty terrible situation. But still, it's nice to see that even in such a terrible situation, the rest of them can get some sleep, right? I mean, she's the leader. It's her job to be worried through the night. That is her job, and she is going to do it, regardless of the safety for her own mental health, right? So, I don't know. Despite the fact that this is a really, really horrible situation that they're in, it's kind of nice in a way, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, I'm glad to see that they, are doing what they can, even if what they can is getting some sleep to prepare for the day tomorrow. I don't know how to explain it, but I do like it. Sleeping Ponies, guys. Sleeping Ponies. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, Xencarn, for the submission. Tomorrow, we'll be talking, or hopefully tomorrow, next time, we will be talking about a very fun card, one of the creative cards from 2 years ago's Xencarn. I'm talking, of course, about Lyra, Ponyville's Got Talent. Oh yeah, this is going to be a fun one, right? So, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I know this was a pretty long hiatus, but if you saw my blog entry on Cloud Chaser and Flitter, I was just really burnt out and just needed to stop everything. So, oh well. But I'm in a better place now. I'm not burnt out, and I'm ready to churn out content for you guys like no tomorrow. Like the good old days. So yeah, that's it from me. I will catch you next time, which should hopefully be tomorrow. And yeah, that's it. Bye bye, guys.